coming and spending time with us here at the University Libraries this afternoon. My name is Catherine Archer, and I am the Information Literacy and Outreach Librarian, and I would like to welcome you all to our first observation of National Library Week. So this week, we're going to take some opportunities just to let you become familiar with the librarians, let you become familiar with some of the services that we provide, and also to have some conversation about proper use of information that will be beneficial for you. So today we're talking about connect with your library, and we're going to talk about the various departments within the library and the various personnel so that you know who we are, that it's not just a building, but that there are people who actually make the building live. So here at the University Libraries, under the University Libraries umbrella, we have the Harry Seymour Library, which is where I'm broadcasting from, and that is the main library. And we have the Hilda Bowen Library, which is our Nursing and Allied Health Professions Library, and the UB North Library, which services the needs of the university community in Grand Bahama. The university librarian is Dr. Bertha May Walker. She manages all libraries within the university library system and works closely with schools and faculty across the university to initiate required services, programs, and resources to our teaching and research faculty and students. Dr. Walker would love to hear from you if you have any questions, comments, concerns, any ideas that you would like to share. She has her email there and she would love to hear from you. Our deputy librarian and also cataloging librarian is Dr. Antoinette Hinda-Darling. The deputy librarian manages the facilities and the day-to-day operations of the Harry Seymour Library. The administrator is also responsible for managing all librarians and staff at the university libraries, excluding our branches. Dr. Hinda-Darling is a cataloging librarian at heart, and cataloging librarianship is about providing quality research resources and library services. As a cataloger, Dr. Hinda-Darling is responsible for ensuring that thousands of users gain access to our books and other resources using our online public access catalog. And we are hoping that you are participating in the renaming activity so that it will no longer be known as Cobweb. As a library liaison, she works closely with the culinary, hospitality, tourism, and leisure management faculty, now known as the COM, to assist students and faculty with ensuring that their research and instructional needs are met. The Hilda Bowen Library, originally located at the Grosvenor Close Library. The Hilda Bowen Library is the University Library's Nursing and Health Sciences Library, and it is a specialized collection that seeks to meet the needs of the students in our nursing school and our nursing and allied health professions programs. Presently, as most of you would be aware, the Ministry of Health is presently using the Grosvenor Close campus, and so our HBL staff are presently located in room 204 in the Harry Seymour Library. That is the main library on the Oaksfield campus. And so you can see here that we have the Nursing and Health Sciences Librarian, Mrs. Virginia Balance, who is also the liaison for graduate studies. And we have the library associate, Clarice Forbes. And so even though they are no longer on that campus, they are still here providing services and connecting with students. So nursing students and friends of nursing students, make sure that you know that our services have not diminished just because they are no longer on that campus. The UB North Library, so that is Freeport and Grand Bahama. Here you see, this is Juliet Glenn Callender, and she is the campus librarian at UB North in Freeport. And so her responsibilities include strategic development and management of library services at the University of the Bahamas Northern Campus, the supervision and training of library staff, engagement in library-related research, liaising with all academic units on a regular basis to create library programs that would support the delivery of their curriculum on that campus. Back to the Harry Seymour Library, we have access services. And you can see here that our access services librarian is Miss Felicia Ambrister. And she is ably assisted by library associate, Miss Tammy Wood, and access and chief library assistant, Mrs. Agatha Brown. With access services, they help patrons to borrow the academic materials that they need from the general collection, and also to facilitate the use of library materials that are kept on reserve and in our audio-visual collections. The first step for persons wanting to access the library, whether a community member or an external member or persons using a day pass, is the circulation desk. And so this is the access services. This is the team that you will interact with first. They are our first line of defense. And our team is knowledgeable, and they are very happy to welcome you to our facilities. And here we have Harry Seymour Library Reference Services. And you see here our reference librarian, Mrs. Christine Swan. She has worked as a librarian for the past 23 years and is currently in charge of our reference resources. So the major aspect of reference and information services, there's information service, which consists of finding needed information for the user or assisting the user in finding such information. Instruction in library use, consisting of helping users learn the skills that they need to find and use library materials, and providing materials that are not readily available in our facilities using the interlibrary loan service. And there's general guidance in which users are assisted in choosing library materials that are most appropriate to their needs at any given time. Reference materials owned by the library do not circulate. That means they do not leave our facility. And these include dictionaries, thesauri, encyclopedias, handbooks, and other reference tools. Harry Seymour Library Instruction. And look, there's me. I am, as I said at the beginning, Catherine Archer, and I am the Information Literacy and Outreach Librarian. And the services and goals related to information literacy and outreach include generally increasing the awareness of information literacy throughout the UB community. And we seek partnerships within and outside of the university to increase general awareness of information literacy. I provide instruction to Counseling 100 classes and other university courses by request. And I also provide regular instruction on the use of library resources and other topics related to information literacy, such as potentially using social media for research or evaluation of internet resources online. Additionally, I serve as the liaison to the School of Communication and Creative Arts. The Deputy Librarian, Dr. Pinda Darling, who I would have introduced at the beginning of the presentation, is the head of cataloging. There are other members of the library team who ably assist Dr. Pinda-Darling in cataloging. And here we have Mrs. Dorna Moxie, Library Administrator Serials. She manages current and bound journals at the main library and catalogs print and audiovisual materials. There's also Mr. Sheldon Pearson, who is the Library Associate in cataloging, and he provides copy cataloging, which is he assists us in customizing records in the OPAC for new materials that we receive for our collections. Within the Harry Seymour Library, we also have the law collection. The law collection provides instructional support to law students enrolled in the LLB program at the university and including the general student population, law faculty, alumni, and there are also services provided to attorneys at law and paralegals in the community by providing access to legal materials. The law collection comprises of materials in electronic and print formats. Print resources include updated law reports, law journals, law articles, Bahamas unreported judgments from the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal, as well as Industrial Tribunal unreported judgments, the Bahamas Gazettes, inclusive of statutory instruments and acts, and textbooks on various law disciplines related to the LLB program. And the members of our team who work with the law collection, we have Mr. Eddie Nolis, and we have Ms. Glenelle Scantlebury. And responsibilities of our team and the law collection include providing basic reference and directional service to assist patrons with utilizing legal and academic databases, providing support for the research and instructional needs of the law faculty, LLB students, and other library patrons, including judges, lawyers, and the general public. Engage in teaching LLB students research skills, inclusive of using electronic and print information sources. Conduct legal research seminars with LLB students for LexisNexis, Westlaw, Justice One, Hine Online, and JSTOR. And those are the databases that we have that provide our legal information. Assist in evaluating and analyzing law reference desk services and usage of the law collection, making appropriate recommendations relative to collection development. In the Harry Seymour, we have our Bahamian Special Collections, and that is where we collect any and all materials related to the Bahamas or written by Bahamians. And so these materials included in special collections include books, periodicals, government documents, so that would be any report from any government ministry, dissertations, student research papers, and a vertical file. The vertical file consists of newspaper clippings on various topics that would be of interest to the student population. And there are also exhibits and displays. For further information, you may contact the Special Collections Librarian, Mrs. Rosemary Wiley. And you see her email address is provided. And while the facility is generally closed to users, you can also contact Mrs. Wiley if you need to come to the library in order to use special collections materials. The University Archives. So here we have our team members in the University Archives. We have Ms. Juliana Milburn, one of the newest members of our team, who is the University Archivist, and she is ably assisted by Mrs. Janet Dolce, who is the Librarian 1 in the Archives unit. And the responsibilities of the University Archives include collecting, arranging, maintaining, and making usable university records, providing record-keeping standards and best practices, fulfilling information requests, and they preserve the institutional record and memory for future iterations and future generations of persons connected to and interested in the university. So we also have Harry Seymour Library, the systems unit. The systems unit is very much the backbone of almost everything that we do. And our systems librarian is Mrs. Shantana Hinzi, and she is ably assisted by our library associate, Ms. Vanessa Mackey. And the responsibilities of our systems unit include managing the library's integrated systems. So that has to do with the OPAC and the front end and the back end of the OPAC, of our library management system. We have e-resources, so that includes our e-books, journals, reference databases, website, social media sites, and other resources that assist with research. The maintenance of hardware and software assigned to library staff, and recommending the acquisition of additional technology and the information systems needs of the university libraries. Again, with our library systems, we have acquisitions and serials. And you see here pictured, we have Ms. Elsie Bain, who is our acquisitions librarian. The acquisitions unit is responsible for purchasing all collection-related resources. This process includes liaising with local and international vendors, managing the collection development budget, negotiating our license agreements for our database subscriptions, managing the print serials collections, receiving and processing donations, and also receiving and processing new print purchases. The acquisitions librarian also serves as the library liaison for the School of Social Sciences, my apologies, and offers such services as information literacy instruction for students, and directing faculty and students to the best information sources, and consultation with faculty on their research and information needs. And you see here that you can contact Ms. Bain at elsie.bain@ub.edu.bs, and the phone number is also provided. So that's 302-4555. Are there any questions, comments, concerns about any?
Good afternoon.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi. Okay, I have a question because I noticed that we're recording. Will this be available for us to be able to reach again?
Yes, we can send this out to all persons who register.
Oh, okay. Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
And we will also be posting it to our YouTube channel.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question. Is the HCM law collection only available for those LLB students?
No, all university students and all members of the university community have access to the law collection that is here.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And if I may add one more question, where would we find that collection?
It is on the top floor in the Harry Seymour Library.
Okay, so it's only physically, you wouldn't be able to access it online.
On the library's website, there is a link where you can see the legal databases that we have. And also we have a library guide related to the law collection. But if you attend the session on Wednesday, which is actually about an introduction to library resources, you'll be introduced to all the things that you can find online in terms of library services and resources.
Okay, thank you.
something? Okay, I will address the statement in the chat and then I will entertain Ms. Robbins. So the question is, would HCM Library assist the need for training workshops in the different areas of library services? I'm sorry, Ms. Cox, I don't quite understand your question.
I think she's from outside. She's one of those persons from the Ministry of Education.
Oh.
So she wants to know if you put on training.
Yes. Okay, so if I'm understanding what has been explained to me, you're asking if we would give workshops for persons working in the library field and providing services. And yes, we would do that. Mrs. Robbins, you had a question?
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. This is a quick question. I didn't hear it, perhaps it went over my head. Who is the liaison for the College of Business? Who is the librarian liaison for the College of Business? I know Mrs. Swan used to assist us. Is she the same person or has it been changed?
Yes, ma'am, it's still Ms. Swan.
Okay. Another question then, is there any YouTube training videos available for students regarding APA style manual?
We do not have anything presently specifically on that, but that is something that we can make sure that we make available shortly. I will make sure, I will put that on my list of things to do.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry? Oh, so I'm being noted also to note that if students are needing assistance, they can contact the University Writing Center that can provide them with assistance right now. They can make an appointment there. And they will be a part of our session on Wednesday.
Thank you.
Miss Bethel, is there another question or is your hand still up from before?
It's another question because I was noticing something in the chat. I wasn't sure if that's what you was referring to as to call the writing center.
No, what is in the chat is about a community partner. If somebody could please also post the link to the library guide on the University Writing Center. I would appreciate that, please. Okay, so you'll see where Miss Virginia Balance just posted in the chat the link to the library guide on the University Writing Center.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, thank you.
Is there another question, Ms. Robbins?
Oh, I had a question about the same thing, but there's something else too on the Bahamian documents.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any more information on what type documents my students will be able to find that's available there, rather than searching the internet and everything else they can come to you for? I talk about Bahamian documents from the Bahamas government.
Yes, if someone could also post the link to the Special Collections Library Guide, because there's a lib guide on special collections, which is quite fabulous. It's amazing.
Thank you.
There's a Jada Simonet has a hand raised.
I was just wondering if you could post the link, or could you tell me the link to the library's YouTube page?
Oh, okay, it will be on the next slide, but somebody is also working on it.
Okay, thank you.
It will appear in the chat shortly.
What was the question she had again to post the link to?
The University Library's YouTube channel.
YouTube channel, okay.
Yes. And it's just been posted. Are there any other questions, comments, or concerns about today's session? Okay, is there anything else in the chat, or have I addressed everything? Oh. Sorry, I just see that. Wow. There, so yes, our library staff is, so the question is, our library staff is very diverse. How do we get into the field? So I think for everybody, the story is different. For me, well, as a student, I should say, as a young person growing up, my parents always made me go to the Nassau Public Library. So I was used to going to libraries. And then when I became a student, I was a student at the University of Richmond, and I was a poor struggling college student. And so I needed a job, basically. And I ended up getting a job at the university library. And so I worked in many different departments at the library system at the University of Richmond. And I also had this thing where I really liked the college life. So I was like, hey, I can get a job at an academic library and be economically productive. So, so that is how I got into librarianship. I don't know if anybody else who is on the call would like to share their story.
Can you hear me, everyone, in library land?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Wonderful. I don't want to say that I was the accidental librarian, because I was not. I actually had, I was very much influenced by my reading teacher in primary school. And she happened to be the reading teacher and librarian. And when she would talk about books and she would introduce us to information about libraries, I became very much interested. And that feeling stuck with me, or that interest stuck with me all throughout high school. So I was like the library helper in high school. And then I moved on to college life. And when I would introduce myself and say what I was studying, people would say, there's a degree for that? And I found that I liked books, I liked people, and I found that the library blended those two things together. And because I liked books, that's what pushed me in the direction of being a cataloger. And I'm the person, like we said earlier, who connects you with our library system. And so please continue to read. There was somebody very near and dear to me who said, if you can read, you can do anything. And so that's my plug in the library. If you can read, you can do anything.
Okay, so we have Miss Felicia, who's making her way to the mic to share her library story.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can.
Okay, well, I became a librarian because basically nothing else was interesting to me. I was very intimidated when I entered university for the first time by the library. It was a huge library with an atrium and all these different things going on. And so I found it very difficult to approach the library staff. Not because they were mean or or, look like, don't ask me nothing. But because I personally was, I felt a little bit intimidated. So when I found out that librarianship was the thing, I decided that's what I wanted to do. And so I did my degree in public policy and management. And when I came home from university, I was like, oh, I want to be a librarian. So I went to the public library where I lived and I volunteered. And I thought that's what you do. You just go and you apprentice and to be in the librarian. Then I found out you have to get a whole degree. And I was like, wow, I didn't know you did that. So anyway, when I finally came to Nassau from Freeport, I came here. I kept applying to come into to work at this library here at Harry Seymour. When I finally got in, I was like so excited because finally I could help people who were intimidated by the library and by research, to help them to realize that you can be a library ninja too. Okay, that's my series. That's my son.
Ooh, library ninjas. Yeah.
Hello. Hi, I'm Bertha May Walker. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I think I was the accidental librarian. Unfortunately, I had most of my schooling on the Family Island. I'm an Angus girl. And when I came to New Providence, against my better judgment, to say, Mom, I do not want to go to Nassau. I want to stay in Angus. And she, being very keen on educating her children, she says, no, you will go to Nassau. You will go to Prince William Baptist High School, and you will do whatever it takes. So I came to Nassau, my sister and we attended school here in Nassau. But then graduation came, and it's like, so what are you going to be? Everybody wanted to be the nurse and the doctor, and the stewardess was the big thing. I didn't have the qualifications for any of those. And so my elder sister, who worked with the ministry at the time, she came home and she said, there's a job opening. You need to go and apply. And I went and I met this young man called Emmett Johnson. He was the Ministry of Education librarian. That was my first introduction. I never went to a public library. I was never encouraged to. I lived with a grandmother who was very Family Island oriented. I said, well, what is this job? And so I went, and the young man had so much excitement. And I found myself in a space with many young females who also never had any exposure. And when he introduced the world of librarianship, we all say, hey, this is it. And that's how come I am here. And I've been loving it ever since. I started out in the school, and my family would say, well, why are you moving from the school? I didn't feel like the school was providing the opportunities for me. So I figured I will move on to academics. So I went to New York. I studied for my master's degree. Well, of course, you couldn't get your master's until you have a bachelor's. And of course, so I said, you know what? Let's do the bachelor's. Instead of coming home, I will go on to do the master's degree. I came home excited, still wanting to work in the schools. And then somehow the excitement waned. And I say, you know what? Academic looked exciting. And I switched. I came to COB then. I've been here ever since. So I hope that didn't give you my age to tell you how old I am. But that's where I am. And I would encourage you young people to look at a different career path. It's not just business and law and nursing. There's also librarianship. We need librarians, Bahamian librarians in this country. So don't look at the glitz and the glamour of the defense force, the police. Look to librarianship. We need you to develop libraries in this country. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shantana Hinzi, and I am the systems librarian. And my short story would be a little bit different from everyone else's. My mom worked at the College of the Bahamas, now University of the Bahamas, for a number of years. I grew up on the campus, and in 2001, I applied for a position in the law library then. I received that position and I worked in that area for about 2 years and was blessed to find out that there was an opportunity to work in a field that I was doing my bachelor's degree in, which was computer information systems. There was an opening in the library. They had looked into actually having a systems department within the library where we took care of all of the computers, did the installations, and eventually moved on to working with the databases. And so I was quite excited about that because I was able to apply the knowledge that I gained from my bachelor's degree in the field that I was working in. So that was excellent for me. I completed my bachelor's degree. And in 2011, I was encouraged to do my master's degree. But my master's degree was not in library science. It was in information management. And it was at the University of Robert Gordon, and they had core courses in library science as the basis of that program, which was excellent for me. And so I completed that degree in 2011. And since then, I have been the systems librarian. So I know what it is to tinker around IBMs that took 8 hours to do installations and upload programs to now more faster PCs. And I know about database management. And so you're hearing about a different aspect of librarianship. We have vendors that we deal with. We have access control. We're dealing with IP, so it's more on the information systems and technology side. But it is very exciting. There are many opportunities out there. And Dr. Walker would have mentioned it's not just business, it's not just science, but guess what? We do have persons within the library with those foundational degrees who can now branch and move up to the librarianship with the basis in business because they know where the focus should be in that area, and with their library science degree can bring more value to the area. So that is my story.
Okay, well, let me just share my brief story, Elsie Bain. Like Dr. Walker, I'm from Andros, but a different part of Andros. I'm from Anglo Key. When I graduated from high school, my thing was I always wanted to go into the business field. And like I tell everybody, I don't know this, I guess this was the career for me because there were several jobs being advertised. I remember applying to CIBC as well as for this library clerk position that I had no idea what it was all about. And it happened so that I'm like, okay, whoever calls me first, I'm going to go to work because I want my money. So the College of the Bahamas actually called before CIBC. And that's how come I ended up working. And I remember during the interview with the then university librarian, she was so fascinated by the fact that I grew up on the family island. We didn't have a library. I never went into a library, but I was able to pass 11 BJCs with grades A and B's. And she was like, but how were you able to do that without going into a library? And so I was like, okay. And back then too, I also had the stereotypical role of a librarian, being that old lady with the glasses on her nose and the bun on her head and telling everybody to be quiet and just looking mean. But after I came into the library, I realized that there were so many different facets in library. And to me, like I always told everybody else, it's just like any other profession. The library, it has the business side of it. You know, the circulation side is what I guess the public get to see, and you know, the customer service. But you have the with me acquisitions, which again is the business side. So I'm like, you know what? Let me just see how this works out. And I remember back then, some of my colleagues even told me when I told them I'm going to do the associate's degree in library science, they're like, library science? Say, you're going to have to be the Rosa Parks library. I'm librarianship here because nobody does that. I said, okay, well, I'll be the first. So I went ahead, I completed the associate's degree. Then I went off, I did my bachelor's degree at University of Albany at New York, SUNY Albany. And from there, I went on, I completed my master's at Clark Atlanta. And back then too, when I graduated, I was one of the top recruits from my graduating class. And I remember all of my American colleagues, they were like, you better go home because you're not here to block our jobs. I had several job offers. I told them, one of the top offers I had was from the Centers for Disease Control Library. Then there was Coca-Cola, CNN Library, and the LA County court system, they wanted me as well. And me being, I'm like, no, I think I'm gonna go home. So there are lots of opportunities out there. I would encourage anybody, if you are interested, go ahead and pursue a degree in librarianship. It's exciting, and especially with the technology. I was here to experience this going from back then, the card catalog, and I hope I'm not aging myself by saying this, where you had to go and flip through the cards to find a book title, the author, and all of that, to moving into an automated system. So I've seen the transformation, and it's still happening. And I would encourage you, especially if you're into technology, libraries is the place to be. Librarianship is the career for you. So that's my yes, Virginia Balance. And I must say, I had a lot of persons here who encouraged me along the way, who mentored me. Virginia Balance was one of them, Bertha May Walker, and Willamette Johnson, who has now retired. But, I got a lot of help and encouragement along the way. So over to you now, Vivi. You can share your story with us. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Virginia Balance. I'm Canadian. I suppose I kind of walked into the position, the career as well. During university, I had a job in a map library. I just thought, well, I'm in the library anyway studying, so I might as well get paid for it. And so I spent, I had 2 years of that in my third and fourth years of university. And it was kind of cool. And also when I was in the library, people used to come up and ask me questions. And so I'd help them. So I realized that was a thing, a job. And then after I finished my master's degree, the field I was in kind of dried up, as it is again these days, because I studied Russian and Russian studies. And so that was just after they invaded Afghanistan. So I am dating myself. And so I thought, what the heck am I going to do? So I went to library school and haven't looked back. I worked in Canada and the National Art Gallery Library, and then at the National Library of Canada in a special unit for multilingual library services. It was a federal provincial program where the federal library purchased materials in languages other than English and French to send to the public library systems throughout the country. And it was really fascinating. It was like working at the UN with a lot of different people from different ethnic and national backgrounds, speaking all kinds of languages. You can imagine our lunches were really interesting and parties. We had lots of interesting food and stuff. So I really enjoyed that. And then I worked mostly in systems when I worked in the National Library in that special department. And we were we designed the first system that used characters in non-Roman alphabets. So we had we designed systems which did Arabic and Greek and Russian, Ukrainian. And when I left, I think we were just starting to crack doing computer systems with Hindi and other characters. And of course, that all revolutionized with Windows. So we were amongst the first doing that. And then we moved, my husband and I moved here, and the only game in town was College of Bahamas, and I was placed in the nursing school. And so I quickly learned everything I could about nursing and nursing information and medical information. And there I've been. That's my story.
Thank you very much to all of my colleagues. I think that's everybody who's here. I think that's everybody who's here. Am I missing anybody? Oh,
I've been.
and I'm sitting there looking. My apologies.
I was hiding and was told I couldn't hide.
Hiding in
I am Juliana Melbourne. I'm the university archivist, and I have a bit of a different path than I think a lot of people who find themselves in information management. In that I was the baby of my class in grad school because I actually knew that I wanted to go to library school. A lot of people find this field as a second career, or they've done something and they kind of go back. So I was a book nerd all the way through school. I always went to the public library. Growing up, I worked in my high school's library. And when I was in undergraduate, I thought I would go into fine arts management, actually, but ended up pivoting kind of halfway through that and decided that I was going to go to library school. So my undergraduate is in English and professional writing. And then I went to library school right after undergraduate, and I worked in digitization throughout school. So in both undergraduate and graduate school. So I would be helping digitize. We did a lot of like meteorological journals. So I think that's my favorite part actually about being an archivist, is that you get all of this strange knowledge through just the things that you see. Like I know so much about geology, local history. I know so much about architectural records and all of that just from working with those materials. So in graduate school, I specialized in archives and records management. So it's just slightly different than like the traditional librarianship or academic librarianship, where you're dealing more with ephemera or documents and not just books or electronic journals. And I also, in records management, that's focusing on institutional records and, you know, how people organize all of the documents that make up their work product. And so that even is thinking of, you know, like how do you preserve the email of the president of an institution and their decisions and that kind of thing that's really important to keep on top of so that you have business continuity as you have different people working in an organization. What I have done in my career, and now I'm here and I'm so happy to be here because, you know, the Bahamas has not had as much preservation of the memory here, and stories are important and I'm very interested in it, and so I am happy to do my part to make sure that the history lives on.
And we are all fun librarians. There's no branch that's boring.
And if you've loved this, please come to our Thursday session where there will be a panel of us hanging out informally like this, and you can ask whatever question you want to know. So this has been a great teaser.
Are there any more questions, comments, concerns, any feedback, anything that anybody would like to say?
Good afternoon.
Yes, ma'am.
Good day. I'm new to this, just recently joined in. Could you tell me what is this all about? I know this is a library week and I'm a freshman at UB, so could you just let me know what is this all about, please?
Okay, so this first session today, we were just talking about connecting with your library. So we were talking about all the different areas in the library and what we do as a team to be able to have a library presence at the university and do what we need to and meet the needs of the university community here. So we've introduced various persons in various departments within the library system. I'm not sure if you saw, somebody had posted, and hopefully they can post it again, the link to the library's YouTube channel, because this session will be posted there.
Okay, I got an email from a lady and it's pertaining to this, and then it's something where you have to go and like page on Facebook and then something about that. Could you elaborate more on that for me, please?
Okay, so as part of the library week, we also want to rename the OPAC. We want to rename the library's catalog. And so we are having a contest that runs until Wednesday. We have a contest that is running until Wednesday, where persons can submit names or proposals of names that we can now rebrand, rename and rebrand our library catalog.
And where do we submit the names on? Is there an email or where do we submit them?
Okay, so if my colleagues could put your emails in the chat, and you can contact any of us to get the information about where to put in your submission.
Thank you, I got it. Thank you very much.
Are there any other questions, comments, concerns? So I want to thank you all so much for attending our session today. So you can connect with us on Facebook and also on YouTube. This is the link that will take you directly to our section of the website on the university's website. Also remember that we have our upcoming sessions for the rest of the week. On Wednesday at 2 p.m., we have the session on beginning research, starting your research. And this is particularly for freshmen, but anybody or first year students, but anybody in the university community who wants an introduction to our library research resources, you can attend the session online or even in person on Wednesday. On Thursday is when we're going to have a more informal session where you can chat with the librarians again at 2 p.m. And so you can chat with us, get to know us a little better, ask us any sort of question that you may have, and we will again interact. And we also, on Friday, we are having how to spot fake news. Fake news is a thing, and we would like it to be less of a thing, but we can't control it being a thing, but we would actually like to help you to recognize the thing when you encounter it. So we have a session, and we have our special guest is going to be Jasper Ward from Guardian News. And so we're going to be talking about how to recognize fake news so that we are not led astray. And so with that, and Wait, I see something else in the chat. Okay. And so with that, I would like to thank everyone for spending this time with us this afternoon. And I look forward to seeing everybody again on Wednesday for our next session. Have a great afternoon, everybody.